Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, I'm doing a little something different here. And full disclosure, this is actually been prompted by um, uh, J. Scott Garabay's channel. I saw a recent video of his, or actually several he's done, where he's kind of calling out Indestructo Boy's channel for being very anti D&D, and he had mentioned that he had viewed like the last 50 videos on Indestructible Boy's channel, and he made some claims based on them. And so what it got me thinking of was, well, maybe I should do kind of like an inventory and a retrospective of my own channel and look at the last 50 episodes, last 50 uploads that I've done. Now, I didn't quite, I'm at 816 now. I wasn't going to count backwards by, 50 from 816. I decided, let me just take a look at uploads 750 through 800. And then when I get to 850 or 851 or so, then I'll take a look at the next 50, just to make it a little bit easier for me to remember when to do this. But, I think that it's kind of valuable to do this kind of uh, a self review of your own content on your channel, kind of to make sure that you're being somewhat even keel as far as how you're approaching the content on a channel, and when I say even keel, I mean not overtly negative or too negative, not everything is flowers and sunshine and kind of stuff, but just make sure that you're kind of mixing things up along the way. So, so when I had looked back and looked at uploads 750 through 800, I kind of compiled that data, and I wanted to just go over that and talk a little bit about it. And so I give credit where credit's due. J. Scott Garibay gave me an idea that I'm certainly going to use to look at this, even though I completely disagree with him on everything when it comes to the hobby, especially Dungeons and Dragons or Wizards of the Coast and such. But every once in a while, like they say, a broken clock is right twice a day, and he at least prompted my idea to do this. Now, when I looked at Indestructible Boy's, channel, which I did follow after J. Scott Garibay kind of directed me towards it, I, I looked, and there's a difference between being anti D&D, the game, and anti Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro. And you can be a huge fan of Dungeons and Dragons, the role playing game, and absolutely despise what Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro is doing with that IP that they, in my opinion, unfortunately have control of and stewardship of. I think it's a terrible stewardship, but that doesn't make my love for Dungeons and Dragons, the role playing game, is particularly the TSR D&D um, catalog of the game versus my absolute dislike for Wizards of the Coast and the direction they're supposedly taking the IP. And I don't consider that they actually make Dungeons and Dragons any longer. They make their own game. um it's in Dungeons and Dragons in name only, or by logo only, really. So anyway, without further ado, let's take a look at my channel and those 50 uploads to see you know what I really came up with and what I pulled away from this with. So let's go. So I am switching views here. So I can't make this any larger. So I went back and basically counted back because I'm at 816. So I counted back 66 to come up with the 50. And so upload 750 was Dungeon 23, Session 3, Room 3, followed by a second session, so Session 4, so that was like day 4. And then I lost interest in that whole process. It was just too tedious to try to come up with something every single day. Then I go to Wizards of the Coast, lied about the OGL, and so that was my first Wizards of the Coast based video during this time frame. And this goes back to the date has to be around the time of their response of the to the OGL crisis. Then Skyrim. Then this week in gaming activities, which included Skyrim plus my own AD&D, and then Bloat Games Vigilante City that I was doing here. So this I categorize as just like kind of gaming news and activity for either my channel or what I'm actually doing as a game master or a player on rare occasions. So that was there. Then back to Skyrim again. So 2 more videos of Skyrim. Then this is a review of Encounter Critical by Venture Satanis, Encounter Critical 3. And that was my first look. Then back to OGL because it started to further inflame along the time. One D&D, again, a negative, towards Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. You're going to see this is during that time frame. You can see it's 2 months ago. So this is really pushing back into February. And that whole thing blew up around January. So this is right in the height of it that I was doing these videos. And as you can see by the thumbnail here, I am talking about AD&D First Edition. Skyrim, then Troll Lord Games. And so I started to make sure that I picked up some more Troll Lord Games. And here I'm talking about getting the Troll Lord Games white box. Then another channel review. Now, my growth during this particular video was huge because I guess my take on the whole OGL crisis was really picking up a lot of momentum, and why I think that people started latching on to my channel, which really appreciated it. I mean, as you can see the numbers here as well, like the OGL videos were pushing 400 plus, but thankfully my Troll Lord Games videos were also pushing above 200 or 300 and so on. Here we have Castles and Crusades, the box set, and that's 609. So I'm glad that that had extended and actually gone far beyond any of my negative videos. So it's always a good thing to see when you're doing a positive video and it gets that kind of viewership. It really does send a message, at least to me, to stay on those more positive aspects of our hobby. Robert E. Howard's, anniversary of his, birthday, and so this would put this at January 22nd. So we do have a time when that was taking place. Then second look at Castles and Crusades, the box set, 288 views. Then I started my series on painting miniatures. And so this is a new topic area, and you can see that I was really kind of getting into and rolling along with these as well. And so painting minis, then leaving 5e behind. This is when I first started talking about, donating my 5e books, which ultimately went to my niece, and talking about other game systems that you can move to, rather than staying with 5e and just go to something else. Painting, then 7 fantasy RPGs that are not Wizards of the Coast. And so I talked about 7 alternatives to that. So again, this is another, a negative Wizards of the Coast OGL video. But it was also positive in the sense that I'm showing you 7 different alternatives. Then I did a first look at Star Trek Adventures RPG. That was gifted to me from Shadow and Sun. I won I won an award, I guess, for being on their live stream, and my number came up, so that was cool. Miniature painting again, then Castles and Crusades, the Codex series. So started with Nordica. So this was episode 1. I have to get back onto this series. As you can see, 300 plus viewings. Then Wizards of the Coast. Again, another negative video because it was just huge during this time frame. I mean, we're still in February, still on still on that, that freight train that was just running very, very negative. And many of us, we were really, pissed off about what was being proposed, because because it was really an attack on the entire hobby. And as I make in these videos, I make the case that including the 5e player base, possibly even more so impactful on them than it was myself as an OSR player and an old school player, and that kind of stuff had really less impact on me because I couldn't really care less what Wizards of the Coast was going to do with 5e or 6e or whatever they were going to call it at that point anyway. Wizards of the Coast, then the Kyle Brink nonsense, as you can see, 2,000 views. So by far within the last 50 episodes or things that I've done, that was certainly the largest of them. And again, I think it was just my take was received very well, and so that's why it has so many more views on it. Back to miniatures, Castles and Crusades. Uh, Amazing Adventures is also a Troll Lords game. I kind of lumped it into my overall Troll Lords game. So same maker as Castles and Crusades is Amazing Adventures. Then my first look at Project Black Flag from Cobalt Press, and their playtest number 1. And, I really came away from that, quite negatively. And so, and you can see, still 273 views, with much larger channels. Obviously, that's not a big deal, but this is, fairly my average, right? So my average runs anywhere around 200 plus. And then there was a few standouts that really do leap ahead. And it's kind of hard to know what's going to strike and when. And I don't make videos for that purpose. I make videos, and if they're popular, they're popular. If they're not, they're not. And it's whatever I'm feeling at the moment to put out there, whether it be my painting. Like I don't care that this miniature painting video down here only got 62 views. That doesn't mean that I'm going to do a whole bunch of videos on men because it got 1.1 thousand views, right? So this is how I basically select my videos, is whatever is current in my gaming experience is what I'm going to put out there. Then we go Adventures Dark and Deep, Swords of Cthulhu by Joseph Block. 340 views. I'm really happy that did really well. It's an awesome product. Then I go back to my paintings. So 43, 58. Rats, a game of fury, Furry Fury, by Uri. I can never pronounce his last name. Sorry. So only 66 views there. Again, I'm happy I did it because he's a friend of the channel. He's someone I've known for quite some time on Facebook, and he came out with this, and he was like, "Hey, will you give it a shot? Will you take a look at it and just, try to get it out there?" So if you haven't got a chance to see this video, please watch this video. Maybe this one will direct people to go take a look at that particular one, because the game is kind of it's very unique, and really quite entertaining just to read it. Index Card RPG. So this was my first episode of it, and then so much else has come on since then that I haven't gotten back to this. So I certainly do need to make my return back to Index Card RPG. Then Channel News Update. So another one where I'm talking about more Index Card RPG, and continuing my miniature painting, but that falls under news and such. Shadow Dark, first one. All right. And so as you can see, Shadow Dark 1.1. This was when it first came out, and I first backed it as a Kickstarter, which might have been on day one of the Kickstarter. So, you can see it right here how big Shadow Dark really was going to be just based on the viewership at the time. So, 1,000 plus views, 1,000 plus views. 713, once I got to this part, then I went back to miniature painting because I was onto a new character, and started painting the new one. I finished up my skeleton down here, and I went down here. And those have been fairly consistent, like just slightly below 50 views, and I'm fine with that. Rising Phoenix Con. So this is a convention that, as you can see by the date here, is coming up very, very next week. I will be at this convention. Really, really excited to take a look at it. Shadow Dark, and I was trying to pair it up with Roll20, unsuccessfully at the time. So 436 views, though, still pretty good. Then current gaming activities. So I'm talking about my AD&D campaign along with Shadow Dark and what I was looking to do with that, and Index Card RPG. So kind of talking about all three. The Game That Changed Everything by Robert J. Kuhn. So I picked up this little thing in the from his website. It was only $15, and I got the pamphlet and the poster. So really excited about that, and a really interesting read. I will get around to finishing up this and going through it in a little bit more detail. Then a video on AD&D First Edition, C2, The Ghost Tower of Inverness by Alan Hammock. I am playing at his table at Rising Phoenix Con. All right, so he's running it. I picked up the module. I bought the module so that I can bring it there and have him sign it. And, really excited about that. And then finally, this is Upload 800. And so Upload 800 is Honor Among Thieves. This was just after my viewing on March 19th. And so this might have been the following day, the Monday following it. And so I talk about my decision to see this movie, and what some of my thoughts about the movie were at that point. And so that was Upload 800. I'm not going to go into the next 16 because, like I said, I want to kind of keep these compartmentalized and do every 50. So overall, over those 50 videos, there were 19 different topics. All right. So I think that that's a pretty fair distribution of video topics. So on average, a little bit over 2 per topic of videos. Looking through those videos and the different topics, the biggest topics that I had in there was my miniature painting was 8 videos. All right, so 8 of my 50 videos were on painting miniatures. Then the others was the WotC OGL, or looking at any other thing. If you just want to say negative towards Wizards of the Coast. I'm perfectly fine with that. That was 7 videos of the 50, which I think works out to around like a 14%. So 14% of my 50 videos were negative, to a certain degree, and the rest, all right. So the other 86% of my videos were were positive, or showing different things, and showing different activities that I was doing, or different game systems, without any mention of Wizards of the Coast or the OGL or anything along those lines. I had 7 videos on Skyrim, which you're not going to see that in the next 50. Um, there were so 8 miniatures, 7 Skyrim, 7 WotC OGL, 4 week activities or newses. Everything else was solo videos, with the exception of Shadow Dark, in which there were 4 videos for Shadow Dark. And there'll be a few more as the Kickstarter's over, and I expect to get the PDFs by I believe the PDFs are going to start rolling out on Monday, the 17th. So as soon as I get one of those, or as soon as I get my backer kit fulfilled on the PDFs, I will certainly be doing some videos. Hopefully between Monday and Wednesday, and then Thursday I am going to be away at the convention, and hopefully I'll be doing some live streaming directly from the convention once I get back to my hotel room, and talk about each day's events. So I will be doing a regular live stream uh, from uh, from the hotel room, and talk about what was going on there. So again, I think it's important. Like I said, if you're spending a lot of time doing videos on YouTube, and you're talking about this particular hobby, or whatever your interest is, and that you do take a look at the large segments of your work, to make sure that you're pushing positive more than negative, and you're you're focusing on what you have a high interest in, whether or not it's getting tons of views. I don't believe that you should say, hey, you know what? This is getting a lot of views. So let me just keep on pushing this out and pushing this out until there's, the views start trickling down, and go to very small numbers. I think it's more important for you to put out the videos that you want to, whether they get the views or not, because your enthusiasm in them is going to be more authentic, I think, than if you're just producing to get numbers. So I hope you like this video, and please leave your questions or comments, or anything in there, positive or negative. I don't care. Put them in the comments section. I don't block people. I think I've blocked a total of 2 people on my channel in 6 years, and so I don't typically block people at all. So I don't have any problem with anyone who comes in and challenges my ideas, or you know even comes out and says, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, and all I say is, if you're going to come and you're going to say, oh, you're wrong, tell me how I'm wrong. Try to prove, show how I'm wrong. I will certainly change my mind about things. And like I said, I don't have a problem saying when someone's right, even though I generally I don't interact with that individual anymore, and he's actually blocked me from his channel. And so, but I will give credit where it's due, and I got a decent idea from looking at that, even though I think he was, completely wrong in how he was applying it to somebody else. And so, that's just that's just the nature of doing commentary on the internet, and certainly on YouTube videos, is that you are going to come across people with very different ideas, and sometimes they get contentious, and that's fine as long as you don't get too bogged down and too immersed in just negativity, which is something I've never tried to do on my channel. So yeah, I was glad to do this and take a look at my last 50 videos, and I was pretty satisfied with the fact that it was 19 different topics, and a super majority of them was positive, pushing what you should be playing rather than what you shouldn't be playing. All right, so thanks for joining. I hope you like this video. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Very darn close to 2,700 subscribers, and hoping that by year's end it should be around 3,000. I'm going to really look forward to that, and I will be doing some giveaways if it does hit 3,000, or when it does hit 3,000. I will certainly be giving away some of the extra books that I have in my collection that I either have duplicates of, or just don't have a use for any longer. So have a great day. Take care.